College football is officially back, and that means it's time for me to make my very first game prediction of the season. It's week 0, Kansas State, Iowa State, in Ireland, Farmageddon, and both these teams have Big 12 championship game aspirations. So, let's break it down. One thing I think is really important in this matchup is continuity, and Kansas State has it. They have the edge here. They have Avery Johnson coming back at quarterback. They have a solid backfield, even though they lost DJ Giddens to the NFL, and they have key pieces back in the trenches. Meanwhile, Iowa State lost their 2 best receivers to the NFL, and that is huge because you're going to replace that in week 0. It's going to be really difficult to get those new receivers up to speed. So let's look at some key matchups in this game. One of the more important ones is Avery Johnson versus Iowa State's secondary. And we know Johnson is dynamic, but he's also turnover prone. And Iowa State's secondary is one of the best in the country. So that's a huge red flag for Kansas State if Johnson has to throw too much. But Iowa State's weakness is stopping the run. And even without Giddens, Kansas State still has Dylan Edwards, who's explosive in space, and Joe Jackson, who brings some power. So if Kansas State can pound the ball and stay ahead of the chains, they won't have to ask Johnson to force risky throws into that Iowa State secondary. On the other side, Iowa State does bring back their quarterback in Rocco Becht, which is huge. But without his 2 top receivers, the passing game might not be as sharp early on. Meanwhile, Kansas State's defensive line and linebackers are legit, especially against the run. So if Iowa State can't establish a ground game, it'll all come down to whether Becht and those new receivers can expose Kansas State's secondary that honestly looks pretty vulnerable. If they can, Iowa State can absolutely put up points. If not, they're going to struggle to move the chains. So my pick here is Kansas State. They have more proven production coming back, and they can attack Iowa State's run defense and control the clock. Plus, their defensive front can limit Iowa State's run game, forcing Becht into some uncomfortable situations with new receivers. And that's why I think they're going to be more prepared in week 0 in Dublin to beat Iowa State. Give me Kansas State to win this game and maybe cover.